Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents the Mindfulness Solution for Intense Emotions. Take control of borderline personality disorder with DBT by Cedar R. Koons, MSW, LSCW. Foreword by Marsha M. Linehan, PhD, ABPP. Narrated by Natasha Soudek. Publisher's note. This audiobook includes bonus material. Please visit Tantor.com and type the Mindfulness Solution for Intense Emotions into the search box. Follow the link to the book's page. Then, under the Supplemental Contact section, please enter the access code Mindfulness, and then click the Unlock button to access the bonus material. The code should be entered in all lowercase letters. All figures referenced in this audiobook can be found in the bonus material. This publication is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regard to the subject matter covered. It is sold with the understanding that the publisher is not engaged in rendering psychological, financial, legal, or other professional services. If expert assistance or counseling is needed, the services of a competent professional should be sought. Forward. Practically everyone has struggled with strong emotions at some time during their lives. Emotional turmoil often accompanies life events like divorce, serious illness, or long-term unemployment. For some people, however, emotional suffering can feel constant and overwhelming because their emotions are particularly intense and difficult to manage. Attempts to escape such emotional pain can lead to failed relationships, addictions, even suicide. Learning to tolerate emotional pain until it passes is very difficult and requires tremendous courage and will. But courage and will alone cannot take one from emotional turmoil to emotional acceptance, or from chaotic behavior to effective behavior. Such change requires complex skills. Luckily, such skills can be learned. The mindfulness skills described in this book are at the core of a treatment I have spent my entire career developing and researching: dialectical behavior therapy, DBT. DBT helps people achieve an improved quality of life by replacing harmful behaviors with more effective ones, even when intense emotions are present. When I was first developing DBT at the University of Washington, I was also a new student of Zen. I wanted to find a way to share what I was learning from Zen with the people I was treating in order to help them reduce their emotional suffering. I knew most of my clients would not be able to sit in meditation, at least not at first. They needed simple, concrete tools that could help them take control of their attention enough to learn other skills they desperately needed to master. With the help of my teacher, Willigus Jaeger, Roshi, I attempted to distill the essence of Zen into tools for highly emotional people. The result was the 7 mindfulness skills of DBT. The mindfulness skills allow us to focus attention in the moment in order to recognize that we have a choice about how to proceed. Taking control of attention with the mindfulness skills is a prerequisite to mastering the other DBT skills, including distress tolerance, emotion regulation, and interpersonal effectiveness. Since I developed DBT, mindfulness has become a valued part of many other psychotherapies. As Cedar Koons mentions in this book, studies have been published that demonstrate the value of mindfulness practice in the treatment of chronic pain, depression, substance abuse, post-traumatic stress disorder, couples therapy, and more. Neurobiologists have found lasting changes in the structure of the brain related to mindfulness practice. While the research to determine what part mindfulness plays in DBT's overall effectiveness has not yet been done, I continue to suspect that it plays a significant role. I am very pleased that a book has been written on mindfulness, especially for people who experience difficulty managing intense emotions. the people for whom DBT was developed. This book covers not only the 7 mindfulness skills, but also several key distress tolerance skills from DBT, including radical acceptance. The book brings fresh insights to all of these skills, including stories, practices, and scientific research. It also addresses the spiritual side of mindfulness, something I have also chosen to emphasize in the recent revision to my skills training manual. But most of all, the book emphasizes the role of mindfulness in emotion regulation. I am also very pleased that it is Cedar Koons who has written this book. I've known Cedar for more than 20 years and have always noticed her passion for mindfulness. Before I met her, Cedar started the first DBT program in a Veterans Administration VA medical center in the early 1990s and conducted important research on DBT for female veterans. In 1995, I invited her to join my training company, where she continues to teach and consult on DBT. In 2000, Cedar became the first president of Marie Institute, now Linehan Institute, and suggested to me that we develop retreats for DBT therapists. Over the years, Cedar has closely assisted me at numerous retreats and also at mindfulness trainings. Cedar's writing is informed by her own mindfulness practice that she has maintained for more than 40 years. She explains each skill in clear and readable prose with numerous examples and metaphors so that you can really grasp the essence of the skill, and she offers simple exercises to help you begin to master them. Her engaging stories illustrating how people have used these skills provide inspiration and hope. This book is a valuable resource for anyone who wants to take control of intense emotions and end emotional suffering. Marsha M. Linehan. Introduction. Have you ever been swept up in powerful emotions that prompted you to do things that damaged your relationships or caused you to feel overwhelmed and lost? Have you often regretted emotional behavior or felt that it cost you your self-respect? Have you thrown away your dreams and acted against your deeply held beliefs because of being emotionally out of control? Most people, at one time or another, have done things they regret under the influence of emotion. But if you feel that you constantly go from one crisis to another because of your emotions, and you want to change, this book is written for you. The mindfulness skills taught here can help you find shelter from the devastation caused by powerful, out-of-control emotions so you can ride out the storm without being harmed. Instead of being swept away, you can take shelter in your own strength and intention through mindfulness. We all experience pain in life, and most of us, at one time or another, go through periods of suffering. I am no exception. I grew up a highly emotional child in a home where the expression of emotions, especially anger, was very much discouraged. Though my parents were loving, caring people, the solution they proposed for handling emotions could be summed up as, don't show or talk about your feelings, and they will go away. When this strategy didn't work for me, which was often, I didn't know what to do. Although I excelled in school and in sports and had a few close friends, I was often embarrassed because emotions seemed to rule my life. I coped with them in adolescence and early adulthood by suppressing them during the week with my studies and acting them out on weekends with various risky behaviors. This pattern made my emotions even more difficult to manage. At this time, when I was trying to establish my identity and values, my emotional behavior made life more turbulent and confusing for me. Nothing brought me the sense of self-control and of feeling grounded that I was seeking. I was searching for something, looking everywhere but where it actually resided, fully operational, inside of me. In my 20s, some friends who were learning to meditate invited me to join them at various workshops and ashrams. I was curious, but skeptical. Methods abounded, from those you could purchase to those for which you had to change your name, shave your head, and renounce the outside world. The challenge was to find a path that felt right to me. I wanted my path to be straightforward, non-religious, and free or low cost. After an extensive search, I found a path that drew me, one that included formal meditation and mindfulness practice throughout the day. For the first few years, I struggled with the contrast between how calm I could feel during meditation with how caught up in emotions I felt in my day-to-day life. Formal meditation was easier than mindfulness. Whether I was working at my job, interacting with friends, or taking care of my family, I found it easy to lose focus under stress. Some days I felt pretty discouraged. Because of my teacher's inspiration, I stuck with my meditation practice, and over time I started to experience the integration I sought. Through mindfulness, I not only learned how to handle stress better, but also felt a higher level of joy and contentment. My relationships improved, and so did my self-respect. In the early 1990s, I took a job as a clinical social worker on an inpatient psychiatric unit at Duke University Medical Center. My new colleagues had just returned from training with Dr. Marsha Linehan, the developer of dialectical behavior therapy, DBT. DBT was developed as a treatment for borderline personality disorder, BPD, a disorder that is characterized by pervasive problems with emotion regulation. Linehan, 1993. People with BPD often suffer intense emotional pain and are at increased risk for suicide. I had worked with many BPD patients, but much of the treatment available at the time wasn't very effective. The diagnosis itself carried the stigma of being untreatable. But DBT had scientific evidence behind it, indicating that it might actually help patients with BPD find a reason to live. Linehan et al., 1991. In DBT, mindfulness is broken down into specific skills that can be learned, even by people in emotional turmoil. These concrete skills can help highly emotional people take control of their attention so they can focus on making better choices. Linehan, 1993a. I saw that I could use these skills to teach others some of what I had gained from years of meditation and mindfulness practice. At first, I was doubtful about how people who experienced intense, difficult-to-manage emotions, a problem called pervasive emotion dysregulation, would be able to focus long enough to use the skills. I knew how difficult it was to take control of my attention even when I wasn't emotional. But I also knew that learning to take control of one's attention in the moment was a ticket to real and positive change. So even though I questioned whether my clients with pervasive emotion dysregulation would be able to learn the mindfulness skills, I was excited to try and hoped they would benefit. I learned not only that people with emotion dysregulation can learn these skills, but that they can use them to transform their lives. Over the past 20 years, I have applied DBT as an individual therapist, skills trainer, and team leader, and have been the principal investigator on research studies of DBT. I've also trained and consulted with numerous teams providing DBT treatment to adults and adolescents in outpatient, inpatient, and residential treatment, and in forensic and juvenile justice settings. These experiences have confirmed my belief that mindfulness skills are crucial to recovery from emotion dysregulation and BPD. My main goal in writing this book is to provide a resource for people with emotion dysregulation problems, from the most severe BPD to emotional suffering not related to a psychiatric diagnosis. The book presents the 7 mindfulness skills of DBT and focuses on the connection between mindfulness and emotion regulation. Mindfulness skills help you to focus in the present moment and to therefore reduce impulsive behavior and increase a sense of connection to yourself, even during times of stress. I discuss how mindfulness addresses some of the most troubling mental health problems people experience, such as depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, substance abuse, and eating disorders. While the mindfulness skills of DBT sound deceptively simple, they are challenging to apply. First, you have to understand them, and then you have to practice. I hope the structure of the book will help you meet these challenges. Chapter 1 explains key concepts about mindfulness and how it can be used to manage your emotions. Chapter 2 describes states of mind and how they influence our behavior. And Chapter 3 describes the benefits of wise mind, or inner wisdom. Chapters 4 through 9 teach each of 6 mindfulness skills individually and include stories to illustrate their application, as well as exercises to practice and strengthen them. Chapter 10 teaches 3 acceptance skills to increase your ability to tolerate emotional distress while remaining mindful. Chapter 11 offers guidance on developing a formal mindfulness practice. If you are participating in DBT treatment, this book can bolster the skills you acquire in class with your therapist. If you are a graduate of DBT, the book can serve as a helpful refresher and companion for deeper understanding and sustained practice. For those of you who have never been exposed to DBT, this book offers an opportunity to learn and practice the core skills of a highly popular and effective psychotherapy treatment on your own. It may serve as an adjunct to other kinds of psychotherapy or spur you to seek full DBT for more severe problems. Even if you are a seasoned practitioner of mindfulness or meditation, you may find these skills valuable, especially if emotions get in the way of your practice. It has been my experience that the dedicated practice of these skills can promote recovery from emotional suffering, even suffering that has persisted for years. I hope that this book will make the DBT mindfulness skills accessible to you so that you too can find the here and now solution for intense emotions. Chapter 1. Using Mindfulness to Manage Your Emotions. On New Year's Day a few years ago, my husband and I had a terrible argument about my shopping. He grabbed my purse and snatched the credit cards out of my wallet. It made me so angry that I ran out of the house with just my car keys. I didn't even put on my winter coat. I drove for an hour in rain and sleet, crying and screaming in anger. It was so unfair how he disrespected me. I was never going back. Never. But once I got to the next town, it was getting dark, and I realized I had no money, no phone, no credit card, no ID. I didn't even have enough gas to get home. I finally scrounged some coins out of the glove compartment to make a call at a payphone, but he didn't answer. I had to beg a woman pumping gas next to me for a few dollars worth of gas. When I got back to the house, my husband was gone. There was a note on the kitchen table that read, "I am done. Don't contact me. It's over. Chloe, 29. Pervasive emotion dysregulation. Do you find that your emotions often cause problems for you, especially in your relationships? Have people consistently told you that you are too sensitive? Do emotions interfere with your thinking? Because of your emotions and emotional behavior, do you ever wonder who you really are? When you feel negative emotions, are the sensations in your body so strong and unpleasant that sometimes you feel you would do anything to make the sensations go away, even hurt yourself? Do strong emotions hang around for days, even weeks, making you feel bad? Have emotional situations made you wish you were dead? If you answered yes to many of these questions, chances are you experience pervasive emotion dysregulation. This means your sensitive nature is difficult to manage, and this difficulty negatively affects the overall quality of your life. For nearly 100 years, mental health professionals have recognized a pattern of emotion dysregulation that showed up in a variety of problems, some of which are very severe. Gunderson, 2009. Psychiatrists described the disorder as on the border between psychosis and neurosis. Stern, 1938. Some dedicated psychiatrists, such as Otto Kernberg, 1967, devoted their lives to trying to help people with these problems, but their treatments reached only a few. Many mental health professionals refused to treat people with pervasive emotion dysregulation. Paris, 1993. In 1980, as part of the development of the DSM-3, the third Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, a committee of psychiatrists constructed borderline personality disorder, BPD, to describe their understanding about this group of problems. Gunderson, 2009. The committee agreed upon the following 9 criteria and determined that the disorder could be composed of any 5 or more of these criteria that were firmly established by age 18 and persisted throughout life. These 9 criteria continue to describe BPD today. American Psychiatric Association, 2013. Criteria for diagnosing borderline personality disorder. 1. Frantic efforts to avoid being or feeling abandoned by loved ones. 2. Instability in relationships, including a tendency to idealize and then become disillusioned with relationships. 3. Problems with an unstable sense of self, self-image, or identity. 4. Impulsivity in at least 2 areas, other than suicidal behavior, that are potentially damaging, such as excessive spending, risky sex, substance abuse, or binge eating. 5. Recurrent suicidal behavior, including thoughts, attempts, or threats of suicide, as well as intentional self-harm that may or may not be life-threatening. 6. Mood swings, including intense negative mood, irritability, and anxiety. Moods usually last a few hours and rarely more than a few days. 7. Chronic feelings of emptiness. 8. Problems controlling intense anger and angry behavior. 9. Transient, stress-related paranoid thoughts or severe dissociation. To understand BPD better, it is helpful to know a few demographic facts. For example, 75% of people diagnosed with BPD are female, and up to 75% of people with BPD intentionally harm themselves at least once during their lifetime. About 10% of people with BPD actually kill themselves. Because of their suicidal tendencies, people with BPD make up about 20% of patients in psychiatric hospitals, even though they account for only about 2% of the national population. Gunderson, 2009. Also, people with BPD are statistically very likely to have additional accompanying problems, called comorbidities. The most common accompanying problems are major depression, panic disorder, PTSD, and substance use disorders. Biskin and Paris, 2013. The accompanying problems can complicate treatment, as the problems tend to be interrelated and to interact with each other in ways that can make treatment more difficult. Eaton et al., 2010. For example, if you have depression in addition to BPD, The depression may make the BPD problems more prominent, and the BPD may make the depression harder to resolve. What statistics cannot show is that regardless of stereotypes, people with BPD look very different from one another. Paris, 1993. What they all have in common is the experience of severe emotional distress and difficulty managing emotions. Mindfulness for severe distress. In the 1980s, Jon Kabat-Zinn, 1990, a mindfulness practitioner who worked as a microbiologist at the University of Massachusetts, decided to teach mindfulness techniques to people with chronic pain. His students were people suffering intense physical distress who had not been helped by other treatments. Over the next few years, he developed an 8-week class, Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction, MBSR. MBSR is now backed by abundant data, showing its effectiveness at reducing suffering and improving quality of life for its participants, Godfrin and Van Heeringen, 2010. Around the same time as Kabat-Zinn was developing MBSR, Marsha Linehan, a psychologist at the University of Washington, became interested in whether mindfulness could help suicidal people suffering from intense emotional distress, especially people not helped by standard behavioral therapy. Linehan believed that these clients, all with severe BPD, would benefit from learning basic mindfulness skills to take control of their attention and tolerate painful emotions. Like MBSR, DBT is now backed by a lot of data that prove its effectiveness. Linehan et al., 2014. Thus, we now know that mindfulness practice really helps people in severe distress, whether that distress is physical or emotional. Linehan originally tried standard behavioral methods with her clients, but found that these methods did not work because intense and painful emotions got in the way. The very behaviors that wrecked their clients' lives, such as self-harm, actually brought them relief from painful emotions in the moment. The more desperate they felt to escape their emotions, the more they sought relief with problematic behavior. The emotional pain was so intense that it was impossible to imagine giving up the behavior, even though they knew they were destroying their chances at a decent quality of life. If her clients were going to survive, they needed to learn skills, some of which were pretty complicated and hard to learn. But first, they needed a simple way to stay present in and tolerate the present moment. 1993, 1993A. Mindfulness becomes a skill. How can people in intense pain manage to stay in the present moment long enough to learn complicated skills? Linehan, a mindfulness student, decided to try to translate what she had learned of Zen principles into simple skills to teach her clients. Van Nuys, 2004. Zen is a school of Buddhism now practiced all over the world. Buddhism originated in northern India, from where it spread south and east. In China, Buddhism took on elements of Taoism and became a school called Chan. After thriving for many centuries in China, Chan took root in Japan, where it was called Zen. In the last century, Zen traveled to Western countries, including the United States. Zen teaches that the path to enlightenment is through meditation, self-contemplation, and intuition, rather than through faith and devotion. Suzuki, 1964. Linehan's translation of Zen principles into mindfulness skills resulted in the 3 what skills and the 3 how skills of DBT. Van Nuys, 2004. Linehan also described the wisdom inside all people that could be accessed through mindfulness practice. She used the name wise mind to describe this inner knowing and explained how the what and how skills could connect people to their inner wisdom, Van Nuys, 2004. Wise mind, together with the 3 what skills and the 3 how skills, make up the...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?